Today, we'll be evaluating the integral of cosine cube of x. When dealing with an integral of either a sine or a cosine, and your exponent here is an odd number, this would be the trigonometric identity that you would want to follow, wherein sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x would be equal to 1. Since what we have here is a cosine, we must isolate this one. Transposing sine squared of x to the other side, we would have the value of cosine squared of x would be equal to 1 minus sine squared of x. Since what we need here is simply cosine squared of x, we can simply factor out 1 cosine here. So this would be the integral of cosine squared of x multiplied by the factored out cosine of x dx. Now that we have that, transform this into its identity. This would be the integral of 1 minus sine squared of x multiplied by the rest here, which is cosine of x dx. Next step would be to distribute cosine of x inside the parentheses. This would be 1 multiplied by cosine of x is simply cosine of x minus sine squared of x multiplied by cosine of x dx. We can split this integral into two parts. This would be the integral of cosine of x and distribute dx. Since this is negative, this would be minus the integral of sine squared of x multiplied by cosine of x dx. Focus on the first part, the integral of cosine of x dx. It is simply equal to sine of x. You can put plus c, but since what we have a second part, it is not yet necessary to put it. Just know that the integral of cosine of x now would be equal to sine x. Now that is done, move on to the second part, the integral of sine squared of x cosine x dx. You would want to use u substitution here. Let u here be sine of x. And the derivative of sine of x would be equal to cosine of x. And since this is respect to x, multiply it by dx. Since what we need here would be dx in order to substitute it in here, isolate it, which brings you to dx equal to du over cosine of x. And you can rewrite this. So this would be the integral of sine squared of x here is u squared, since u here is sine of x, and multiply it by cosine of x here, and dx right here is equal to du over cosine of x. You can actually see here that it will cancel, which leaves you with an integral of u squared of du. By the power rule, the integral of u squared is simply u to the power of 3 over 3. And of course, it has a negative, so put negative here. And now, for the final answer, just put u back into its original form, which is sine of x. And so your final answer would be 1/3, and u here is sine of x. But since this is in cube, this would be sine cube of x. And add plus c.